Hi, this is Alex from phpacademy.org with a video tutorial for the new Boston. In this video we're going to take a look at some basic document traversing or basic traversing in jQuery, and essentially what we're going to be doing is passing along, which is essentially what traversing is, passing along each input field on this page. And there only happens to be two at the moment, but essentially what we're going to be doing is taking the results from each input field on the page and we're going to be combining the two. Now obviously this doesn't really have its practical uses. If you were to, for example, want to combine a name, you'd probably uniquely reference each of these anyway, and then just combine the values. But we're just going to be looking at the each statement, or the each function, or whatever you want to call it, in jQuery, where we can pass along each element by a specific type, and we're going to be choosing the input type with an input field with the type text. Okay, so let's go ahead over to our text editor and we'll start to write this out. So inside index.php we've obviously got jQuery included here, as well as ext.js, which is just going to handle or have all of our jQuery code in. I'm going to go ahead and create a couple of input fields, and then I'm going to create a div area that's going to show the combined results. So the first thing we want to do is go ahead and create two input fields with the type text, which is pretty straightforward. And I'm just going to go ahead and surround these in paragraph tags so we can keep them separate from our div that we're going to put down here in just a moment. Let's then go and create a button as well, which is going to have an event handler assigned to it, and this is just going to be a combine button. So the type is button obviously, and the value we can just say combine. We need to go ahead and give this an ID, and I'm just going to call it combine or combine. So we can obviously, let's just go and refresh. We can type something in here and here, click combine, and then we process the traversing of these two fields, or as many fields as we have on our page. And then just down here we're going to display them in a div area. So I'm going to go ahead and create a div, and we'll go ahead and give this an ID of combined. That just makes sense, so combined. And obviously it's not visible on the page, but obviously whatever we put inside of here will be visible, and we're going to be putting the text inside of here from the combined once we press combine. So quite straightforward. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. Now let's go ahead to ext.js, which I mentioned we have included in this page, and let's start writing the jQuery code. So the first thing we want to do is wait for the document to be ready. So we use document and the ready event handler. Inside of this event handler we outline a function, so we've got function, our parentheses, and we've got our block here, and I'm just going to pull that down, and anything inside of here is what's going to be executed when the DOM is loaded and the document is ready. So the first thing we want to go ahead and do is actually set up an event handler for our combine button. So we've got this combine button, and we need to use a selector to select this, and we're going to be selecting it by ID. So our name is combine here, so we want to go ahead and use a hash because we're using an ID selector, and then combine. The event handler is just going to be click, so once this button is clicked like this, we run the function inside of this event handler. So let's go ahead and outline that function and just again pull it down as we did with document and the ready event handler. And we want to go ahead and first of all just initiate a variable that called combined text. Obviously we need somewhere to store our combined text before we place it into our div. So I'm just going to say var combined text, and because we're using equals nothing, so var combined underscore text equals nothing, but we have string data here. The reason that we do this is when we use each, if we don't go ahead and create a variable beforehand, the combined text variable will show as unset or is not set, because we're going to be using the plus equals operator to just combine the values on. You'll see what I mean in a moment. So now's the step of actually selecting all input fields with the type of text. So again, we use a jQuery selector, and onto the end of this we're going to use the each statement, or the each function, So inside of here we want to say input. At its current state that's selected all input fields, but in brackets we want to supply where the type is equal to text. So any input field with the type of text will now be selected. And what we want to do is we want to use each on the end of this, and this will actually sort of loop through each occurrence of this selector on the page. So we've got one here and we've got one here. So inside of each we use a function once again. Now we can supply an additional thing in here. We could say index if we wanted to, and what this would do is if we were, for example, to say alert index, you'll notice that when we refresh and click combine, you'll see we've got 0 here which represents this one here, and then we've got 1 here which represents this field here. So we can use the index if we want. We can obviously also use, I think we can do index and then value, and we can output index plus, and we'll just do a space plus value, so we're appending on a space here as opposed to, well, again with these index and value. And if we were to go ahead and type, say, let's refresh, Alex carrot, and click combine. Okay, yeah, so we don't have this here, but I'm going to show you another way to do it. So we'll just ignore that for now, and we'll go ahead and ignore this for now. We can also get the value by using this here, which refers to the current input type that's selected, so either the one at index 0 or index 1, and then we can use .val on the end, sorry, .val